Good morning to all of our sports bettors out there. Thank you all for joining us on Bets on Bets on Bets, the official morning show of the Off the Ball Network and the Playbook HQ Discord. I'm your host, Kenneth Walker from the Competitive Hedge Podcast. Fifth Sunday of the NFL season, and we want to make sure you are covered on the betting front. Coming off a 5-1 week for the show, Walker, I was the one that let us down with the Falcons -2.5, who won by 2. How you feeling after 3-0? And it sounded like you had a good college day yesterday.
Yeah, I felt really good. I felt really good last week. Sunday was kind of the start of what's been a really just good week in general. I've kind of seen the playoff baseball board well, and by that I mean I've just basically bet all the unders. But I mean we've hit some dog money lines along the way, and then had a really good Thursday night. Got to Saturday. I kind of warned everybody. I sent my card in the group chat yesterday. I said, look, like I've been super hot all week, so you may want to just proceed with caution because at some point that's going to come back the other way. But 7-2 last night in the college slate. So we're on to Sunday with a lot of units in the back pocket to play with, and so we'll just kind of see. I will say, I told you this when I sent you the plays for this. I said I thought this NFL card was really hard. Like I thought it was a tough board. Teams, we got a few teams on bye weeks, so a few less games. I thought this card was really hard. I had a hard time getting to 3 plays, so I had 3 or 4 I liked, and then but beyond that, I probably won't indulge a lot of this card.
Yeah, it's a tough week. You got teams like Philly, Detroit, Chargers, and Tennessee all on bye this week. A lot of close spreads, a lot of over-unders that are some tricky numbers as well. So I was in the same boat. I've only got 2 official game plays, and then I went the player prop route for the first time this year just because I couldn't really find a lot of numbers that I liked. So we're going to get right into it. We're going to talk about the first game, which is probably the best game of the weekend. That's going to be the Buffalo Bills and Houston Texans. Walker, I'll be honest, this is where my first play comes from. I'm going to take the over in this game, the over 47.5. They're framing it as an Allen versus Diggs revenge game, which it seems like Diggs is pretty happy where he's at, and Josh Allen's playing at an MVP level. So, I mean, both teams are playing pretty solid. Bills are coming off getting battered by Baltimore, but I do think this is a get-right spot. Teams combined average 50 points per game, giving up 45 per game. Houston has no mix-in, so I think Stroud's going to be airing it out, and he's got his full complement of weapons today with Diggs, Nico, and Dell. And then Allen, he doesn't have Shakir today, but plenty of other weapons. I think it's going to be a bit of a track meet here. So I'm playing the over as my first play today. What do you think of this game?
Yeah, actually, if I had to play a side, I'd play the Texans. I kind of like Houston here. I kind of like them at home. They've kind of been sloppy here for a little while. Easily the favorites to win their division. That still holds true. I think this is a big game, kind of to prove that they belong amongst some of the top teams in the AFC. I think they play really well at home here, and they get the better of Buffalo in what's probably a shootout.
Yeah, like the 47.5, I'm thinking that Houston's going to go 30 plus, which means that I just need Buffalo to score 20. I think that they can definitely do that. Cook and Allen, I think, are going to have good days. Kincaid, maybe Keon Coleman, if you're looking for maybe some longer shot touchdown plays, but I wouldn't play many player props in this game.
Everybody's gonna play Diggs. Everybody's gonna play Diggs, but I mean, I'd kind of look around and shop around at I mean, I know shop around on Nico Collins touchdown numbers.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been so good. He hasn't been in the end zone a ton. It just feels like it's a matter of time before he gets a few more.
Tank Dell's another one of those guys today where because it is going to be the Diggs show, maybe he is due for kind of one of those long bombs that we saw Stroud throw quite a few times last year. So I think against the Buffalo secondary, that's maybe one to look at. So that's the first game for today. That's going to be the marquee matchup. I think if you're tuning into a game in the early slate, it's this one or the next one that we're going to talk about. Big AFC North battle. We got the Ravens. We got the Bengals. Baltimore -2.5 on the road. They're getting a ton of juice, especially after how they looked against Buffalo. Bengals sitting at 1-3 feels like they need a win. They did beat Carolina last week, but the defense still giving up 24 points last week. Maybe some cause for concern, but I think you do like a side in this game. So where are you going with this one?
Yeah, I'm going the other way. I like the Bengals at home. This is kind of a desperation divisional home spot. We talked about this in the preseason when we talked futures, and you love to back divisional teams at home. So I like the Bengals here against this number. I think they're going to win the game. And I think they're going to get back to 2-3 and basically put themselves back in the thick of things in the division. So I like Cincinnati here. I think it's probably kind of a grinder of a game a little bit, and I think that Cincinnati finds a way to come out and get the win at the end.
Yeah, that Chris and I talked about that this morning on See You Sunday. We both like the Bengals as well. Think that it's a good spot for them. Ravens riding really high after that Buffalo win, and I think maybe
Yeah.
we see a little bit of regression here. I also backed the Falcons on Thursday night, which I think was probably the best Thursday night game we've had in a couple of years, and another home spot where a team needed to win in a division game, and the Falcons were able to pull it out. So I do like this spot here for the Bengals if you are looking to play this game. I don't have anyone in particular for this one. I would back the Bengals if I was going to back anyone, but I may just sit back and watch and see how it plays out. Third game we got is your division. We got the AFC South going with the Colts and Jags. No Anthony Richardson, no Jonathan Taylor. Jags now up to -3.5. They were -3 over the last couple of days, but they're getting a little bit more juice here. Is this a spot where Jacksonville finally gets that first victory? Because they do need one if Jug's going to keep his job here. What do you think?
Yeah, it's Jags or pass for me. You can't bet the Colts here. If Richardson had been in, I think maybe we're having a different conversation, and you maybe look at some different stuff. But I mean, the Jags are clearly the correct side, but all the value in the number is gone. It's kind of moved to 3.5, so you don't really want to give up that key number. You don't want to buy it back to 3, so it's just kind of all the value's gone. But if you had to bet it right now, I would say that Jacksonville's probably the correct side.
That's where this may be a live bet spot for me. Like if the Colts go down, maybe they get the ball first, they take the lead, then you can maybe get a decent number on it on the money line on the Jags. But I just don't want to bet it when you get that 3.5, especially with how that offense in Jacksonville has looked. Like my concern is late in the game, they maybe mess around and just screw up this spot. So I'm going to stay away.
You're begging for Jacksonville to be up 10 and getting backdoored if you're buying the 3.5 now. Like you're begging to get backdoored.
Yeah, exactly. So this is a game that I'm just going to kind of monitor, see how it goes. With no JT and no Richardson, we'll see if Flacco can get them going. We know that Stu's really going to be fired up to watch Joe Flacco instead of Anthony Richardson today. Now, fourth play for today, we got Panthers and Bears. Bears -4 at home. I hate that number. Just anytime I see -4, I get a little bit concerned. Carolina has looked a lot better on offense, especially since Dalton has come back into the fold and starting. But the first play for me here, I do have one play. I'm going to take the DJ Moore over receptions at 4.5. It's -130, so I'm doing a unit and a half because it is a little bit more juiced. Carolina giving up 210 yards per game in the passing game. Top receivers have done okay against this Panthers team, and Moore is averaging 5.5 receptions per game. He only had 3 last week, but he finally got in the end zone, which is good to see. So I think that this is a good bounce back spot for him. Caleb is going to throw it a ton. We've seen him throw it a ton so far this year. So I like DJ Moore's receptions over 4.5 at -130. Any plays in this game for you that you're liking?
Yeah, I mean, I would bet the under. I think that's probably the best play in this game. I think the under is probably the best spot. If you made me lean aside on the spread, I would lean Carolina, but I can't really get there. So I would take the under at 40.5. Listen, I mean, I think both offenses will probably struggle. Chicago struggled every week. Shane Waldron's offense struggled in Chicago too. He's kind of handicapped receivers in a lot of ways. He's doing the same thing now to DJ Moore and some of those guys in Chicago that he did to guys like JSN in Seattle. The route trees are almost exactly the same and stuff like that. So I do think Chicago is going to continue to struggle on offense with him calling plays. And then Carolina, I think now that film is out on Dalton, I think the more and more you can kind of prepare, I do think it's going to be a little bit easier to get stops, kind of as the year goes on. So, and Chicago's defense plays really well, especially at home. So, I do think the under's a live play here. I could see the Bears winning by 3 at like 20-17 or something like that.
Yeah, 40.5 is not a number that I love with either of these offenses. So I agree the under's probably worth a look. Still think DJ will get his catches, but I hate playing his yards play just with how Caleb's looked. Like I think he will have kind of a lot of underneath stuff. So that's why I leaned him on the receptions. Then we got Dolphins Patriots. Miami -1.5 on the road. Seen some books already shift to -2 on the road. basically backing Miami's weapons here and kind of fading what New England has going on. That's why I have Miami -1.5 today. I like A-Chain to get in the end zone. Plus 155 for him is what I was seeing. But I think that the weapons are just too superior here for Miami. Even if they're not airing it out, then I still think that they're going to be able to score 17, which is probably enough to get the win in a game like this. Stevenson probably not going to be the lead back. Polk is their best receiving option. Like, I just don't believe in this Patriots team. I said it on Overreaction Monday that I don't know if they're even going to win another game this year. This would be one of those spots that they potentially could, but I like Miami today. What do you think of it?
Yeah, I like the Dolphins too. If I had to bet it, I'd bet the Dolphins. I just think with the quarterback situation and stuff, Huntley's been around. He's got another week in that system. I think they'll look a lot better than they did on Monday night, and I just think they're significantly more talented. I would back the Dolphins.
I think the other thing to keep in mind too is like we've talked about how good that Titans defense is. I don't think New England's defense is even close to as good as the Titans. So I think that this is a spot where they score 17, 20 points. They still win because I think New England may only put up like 10 or 13. So I like this spot here for the Dolphins. We'll head over to the next game. We've got Browns and Commanders. Commanders -3 at home. They're starting to get some love from Vegas after how they've looked the last couple of weeks. Jaden Daniels looks phenomenal. And then you got Cleveland on the other side. Not great quarterback play. They do have Njoku in the lineup today, so that'll be a huge boost for them. But I couldn't pick a side in this game because I feel like they're begging you to take Washington, and I feel like there's a slip-up spot at some point for them. But what do you think of this one?
Yeah, I still like Washington. I like Washington here. I think they're going to win again. I think the offense is going to continue to hum. I think they'll find a way to get enough points, and the defense will do enough to get stops. I think they'll cover this line, win this game, and kind of stay atop the NFC East for the season.
What do you think of the under in a game like this? It's 43.5. If you're fading Cleveland's offense, then is it worth a look on the under?
Yeah, I mean, I think it could be. I think that the problem with maybe a 43.5 is kind of when you get into it and with the way Washington has played on offense, basically scoring every drive. If you maintain even close to that pace on a low total, even like, I mean, they're not going to beat it themselves, but they
Yeah.
theoretically could score 31. And even like a 31, like at that point, like even a 31-14 finish gets you beat. So like if you wanted to play unders, I would probably say like, hey, I'm going to fade Cleveland's offense directly and play Cleveland's team total under 20.5. And basically say, yeah, like Washington can kind of do what they want. I'm just going to bet that they hold them to 20 or less. That's how I would go about it. But I mean, if you had to bet the game total, I would bet under. I just right now I don't really want to jump in front of Washington's offense until they show me some signs of slowing down.
That's fair for sure. Great rationale there on that. Also, Tottenham just scored, so they're up 1-0 in the EPL, so that's huge for you and your
Yeah.
Spurs.
They've won 5 in a row, so I mean, maybe they're figuring it out.
Maybe they're figuring it out. Teams that are also hoping to figure it out is an Arizona Cardinals team who are +7 in this spot. San Fran looking pretty good on offense despite no CMC. Mason's kind of filled in pretty well there. Looks like they'll have the full complement of weapons today. I think Kittle is a go now. But this is a spot where a division game where you get a full touchdown, things can get a little bit dicey. What do you think?
Yeah, I grabbed the Cardinals in 7.5 earlier in the week. It's my second like official play. I think the Cardinals offense is going to be able to move the ball here, and I think if they're going to be able to move the ball, score points, I'd look at some Marvin Harrison Jr. touchdown props. I think they're going to be able to score enough points to stay within the number. I'm not sure that it's necessarily going to be a game that they're a threat to win, but with me being able to grab the 7 and the hook, I mean they could be down 14, grab a late touchdown, backdoor it, or I mean, and if they can move the ball like I think they will, they're going to be competitive in the game for most of the day. So I do think they're going to be able to move the ball, score some points, and I think the defense can get us at least maybe one timely stop and keep us within the number.
Yeah, this is something that we've talked about quite a few times over the last number of years on this show. Like anytime you get over a touchdown in a division game, like as you said, it could be a 14-point game. You get that late touchdown, don't get the onside kick, and you get the cover. So getting the 7.5 is a really nice
These
spot.
spots, these spots are also eating ATS this year in a way that they haven't in years past. Like the large dogs are eating in a huge way this year. I'm sure that that's going to regress to a mean at some point, but I mean, it's like some sort of outrageous, like 18-2 or something like that on spreads of 6+. It's pretty wild. So I think you have to take the large dog here and just kind of ride that wave, and then also just like we said, divisional game. Those tend to be closer, a little bit lower scoring, high total here. But I mean, I think Arizona's going to move the ball and be able to score points, stay within the number.
Agreed. I like this spot for you. I think that that's great, especially to get that 7.5. That's why you got to kind of monitor the lines throughout the week, see where it's moving, and that's a great get to get past the touchdown. Raiders Broncos. I'll be honest, this might be the grossest game out there today for me. I don't want to touch anything with Gardner Minshew and Bo Nix at quarterback. I don't even necessarily want to take the under because I don't love either defense. I think the Broncos are a lot more solid on that side, but haven't seen if Crosby's going. We know no Devontae for the
They said
Raiders as well.
as of last night, Crosby was expected to go.
So he should. Okay. Well, I still think that this is a spot where I just don't want any part of it. It's tough to want to back a team where your quarterback throws for 60 yards last week. They did get the win, but Nix hasn't looked great at QB, and then you're relying on Gardner Minshew here. So I would like to think that Denver can cover this number at home, but it's just not a play that I'm interested in. Anything in this game for you?
No, but I do think you could probably bet the under, and it's kind of like that Steelers Broncos under at the exact same stadium where you just bet it and laugh and throw it away, and you just know it hit. Like you can, it's one of those where you bet it and you just go ahead and spend the money because they're not going to go over. Um, so I think it's one of those types of games where I'm not going to bet it, but with it being an afternoon game, I don't know. I may end up on it post show. I do think that that's one of those, like kind of like that Steelers Broncos under, where we kind of laughed and said it could be like 16-10 on an over under 39.5, and you just never even sweat. And we looked up, and I think the Steelers won like 16-9 or something like that. And you're just like, yeah, no, I mean that was as easy as we said it would be. So so I'll probably I may look at that kind of this afternoon. As I talk about it, I kind of am talking myself into it a little bit, so I may go and throw a little something there.
Yeah, we'll see how that line moves throughout the day. Maybe you do get a little bit under the number, or maybe it gets bought up a little bit. Who knows? Giants Seahawks is the next one. I mentioned it in the chat. It's not an official play for me. I just feel like Seattle's getting a ton of love here. I know that they looked pretty solid through a few weeks, but then that defense got battered by the Lions. And look, it is a bit of a shorter week for Seattle. I feel like the Giants could figure out a way to cover. I know they don't have Neighbors or Singletary, but I don't know. It's a tricky line for me, especially with all that money on Seattle. And you mentioned earlier, like getting eaten up by these big dogs in spots like this. So what do you think of it?
Yeah, if I had to, I would lay it with Seattle, but it's like you said, I'm not really rushing to lay a bunch of points. Um, I'm not rushing to lay a bunch of points, and Seattle's defense is dicey. They're also not just super super healthy. It doesn't appear. So, I yeah, I mean, I would back Seattle if I had to bet it, but I'm not running to the window to bet that.
That's fair for sure. It's not a. It might be one that I monitor. Maybe if Seattle scores on the first drive and then you can get that line bought up a little bit, then
I'd
that I
love
might
for the
go with.
Giants to get the ball and kick a field goal where I could come back in like Seattle -4 or something.
Yeah, that would be that's the thing. Yeah, if you get Seattle scoring, you can get it at a good number for the Giants and vice versa. So maybe one to just keep an eye on how that opening drive goes for either team. Then we got Packers Rams. I was expecting more money to be on Green Bay here. I know that Jordan Love hasn't looked great, and people were already touting him as such a generational type quarterback after what he did late last year, and now he was hurt, but he's 0-2 when he has started games this year. And the Rams, they still don't have their complement of weapons, but I think this one could be a bit of a shootout. I hate that the number's at 49 because I just don't want to dive in at a number that high when you have a little bit of question marks with the weapons and how Love's going to play. But what do you think of this game?
Look, I mean, it's a tricky spot because it's a strong Green Bay line, but at the same time, like I would prefer to back the Rams on the west at home on the West Coast. They're kind of Midwest, traveling all the way out to the left coast. Look, I'm gonna be honest. I think this Green Bay team stinks. I mean, I think they stink out loud. I mean, I don't think the defense is
Okay.
all that particularly great. Like they're playing a ton of man coverage. They don't really just cover all that particularly well. They haven't won a game this year, Malik Willis or Jordan Love, period, where they haven't had a substantial turnover margin. Like, I mean, they haven't just won a straight up football game where it's like, all right, like, and I know forcing turnovers is part of it, but that's not something you can rely on over the course of a full season. And they haven't won a football game where they haven't had two or more turnovers than their opponent. So, to me, like that's a huge red flag. The quarterback's playing like dog water. The defense has not been particularly good. The defense got shredded last week, and like you can say what you want to about like, oh well, they came back. No, man, like you get up 28 in the NFL in this league, and people are just trying to go home. Like they're like the Vikings put that thing in cruise. And they were ready to get out of there and go home. And as soon as they needed to make enough plays to win the game, they did. And so
Yeah.
to me, like that's a fool's gold type thing. And really, honestly, the McKinney interception last week was not an interception. Like he wasn't in bounds. So I mean, if that gets called correctly and the Vikings keep the ball, it's kind of a different game. Love's kind of on a Jameis Winston pace too right now. So I will say that may help the over because he's probably going to throw onto the other team today, which you'll get short fields. So I would bet the over if I had to bet it. I do think both offenses will play well. I don't think either defense is worth anything. I think they're probably basically going to be running routes on air. So I do think the over is a good play.
Tottenham also up 2-0 now, so that's a great spot for you guys. Absolutely rolling EPL wise. Sunday nighter, kind of a gross one. It's Dallas and Pittsburgh. A lot of money on Dallas tonight, which is kind of the opposite. Like I mentioned this morning, I would probably bet Dallas if I was going to, just because I'm getting plus money on a team where I just don't think that the Steelers are that great. I know Dallas isn't great either, but I just think that they have the ability to score more points in a game like this. But all that being said, when you see 77% of the bets on Dallas, then you start to get a
And the
little bit
line's
concerned.
moving the other way. The line's moving the other way.
Yeah.
Like it's been stretching out on Pittsburgh a little bit. I like Pittsburgh. I like Pittsburgh in the under. The under is probably my favorite spot. I know it's kind of moved up a little bit, which is fine. I got over kind of a key number there, so I mean I think most Steelers games to me are just going to be unders that I toss away and just come back and watch. Plus primetime Sunday night unders are always kind of a sharper spot. So I mean I think coming back to that with a Steelers team that's playing at home, they're going to probably dictate their style of play on the game. I do think the under is pretty good here. So
Yeah, I'll see how the betting day goes. If it goes well, maybe I'll sprinkle on Dallas just because it's plus 125 and it's my team and just kind of see how it goes. But as of now, it's not a bet game for me. It's not one that I particularly love the number on anything really here. So I'll be staying away. Your final play actually comes from Monday night, which, yeah, go ahead and tell us what's happening with that Saints Chiefs game.
yeah, I like the Saints. The Chiefs are undefeated. They've played well, or they haven't played well. The Chiefs are undefeated, but have not played well. They've kind of just scrapped and gotten out of games and found ways to win. So I'm going to take the larger number here with the Saints. I wish that I'd gotten the look ahead when it was sitting at 7, but here we are. So we're stuck with the 5.5. But I still like it. I do think the Saints offense has kind of struggled here a little bit the last few weeks after kind of probably getting figured out and having to adjust. So I think kind of the adjustment period is now. I think we're coming back into a period where we can buy the Saints offense to play well. Kansas City is kind of just begging to get beat. They're begging people to beat them right now. So I do think that this game comes down to a field goal either way, and that's pretty easily, comfortably within the 5.5. So
Yeah, I don't hate the spot. The thing about the Chiefs is they've been winning a lot of close games as well. So, I mean, if the Saints at 5.5, like you may have the Chiefs up a bit, but then you get the late cover here. So, I don't hate the spot. I think the Saints have a good shot in a spot like that. So, that's what we got for you on the betting side. So, I'm rolling with Miami minus 1.5, the Houston Buffalo over 47.5, and then DJ Moore over 4.5 receptions at minus 130. Any touchdown plays for you that you like for today?
yeah, I mentioned Nico Collins. I'm gonna basically continue to bet JSN until he gets into the end zone because I'm stubborn. So I would bet Nico and JSN, but also full disclosure, those players both play on my fantasy team. So, so there's probably a little bit of bias there. We're fixing to add Bijan touchdown to that list because it's really about time he gets in the end zone too. So I would probably look at those. Or
Okay, so
not Bijan, obviously he already played, but the other two.
So we'll get a TD parlay going. I don't have the odds on it right now, but we'll throw Nico in for you. We got to give a shout out to the guys over in the Discord. We've got Josh Jacobs coming from J Parlay. Feels like he's kind of due for a touchdown at some point. And then Jordan Mason will be the other ad. That's from NHL Goalie Props. That one's a little bit more juiced, but I mean, when you're parlaying, then I think it's not a terrible spot to be in. If I'm going to play a touchdown one, I'm trying to kind of stay away from some of the plays that I've already put into some of my other spots. I would probably throw in just Kenneth Walker today if I'm going to have a touchdown play guy. When I looked at Betalytics, shout out to Betalytics, use code OTBN for 25% off. They've got Kenneth Walker as the highest graded touchdown play for today. That's often going to happen with running backs, especially with how he looked on that Monday nighter. But I think that he's got some good value there. So Mason, Jacobs, Nico, and Kenneth Walker is going to be the 4 TD parlay for you here today. We'll get the odds out later on, but Walker, appreciate you hopping on the show as always. We're up to 15-9, 4 bets on bets for 4.5 units so far. Anything else you got?
Nope. Let's just go. We'll go have another good day. I'm gonna go bet this Broncos Raiders under. I'm pretty much hell bent on getting to it now. I'm gonna go bet that under. Go add that to the couple of spreads that I've got for today, and just hopefully have another good day. My rule for Sundays after a great week and a great Saturday is basically don't kill yourself on Sunday and go into the next week not ahead. So, gonna exercise some discipline here. So it'll be fewer plays, probably maybe even some smaller unit sizes. So I'm gonna get up here and watch the second half of this Tottenham game because as they are, I am also a front runner. So I'm gonna go watch them while they're winning.
Yeah, I mean, the EPL was not the kindest to me yesterday. I had the Arsenal -2.5. They won by 2. I did get the Leicester result, which was nice, in the Man City team total. And then the other spot that I had one other one in there that didn't go. Oh, Newcastle, unfortunately, 0-0 draw. And I showed discipline this morning because I told you that we were messaging back and forth. I thought about taking Villa or Man U money line, didn't touch it, and it's a draw. And then I was leaning Brighton, and Tottenham now leads 2-0.
Yeah,
So
every lean that I had in the EPL this morning was wrong. So I'm glad that you didn't take any of my advice because I would have lost you a chunk of change there.
yeah, I'm down about a unit overall through the first 6 days of the month. Had a bit of a tougher go on Champions League, but I do think that this is a get right spot on Sunday. Got 3 plays that I like, and we'll just enjoy the NFL slate. So shout out to Betalytics, shout out to the Discord. Join at wap.com/theplaybook HQ for all of your betting needs there. Lots of plays posted in there this morning already, so you don't want to miss out on those. And go check out offtheballnetwork.com. Ton of great stuff over there. A lot of great articles and other things happening. So appreciate everyone who tuned in to Bets on Bets today, and we'll see you guys next Sunday for the show.